We're in the offices of the publisher of Look magazine, Mr. Vernon Myers.
This spring, Dr. Werner von Braun, director of NASA's Marshall Space Center, said, "Early next year, we'll flight test the huge three-stage Saturn V rocket, which will transport 3 Apollo astronauts to the moon. The Saturn V launch vehicle will place a payload of more than 250,000 pounds into Earth orbit. Now that's the equivalent weight of 25 of the largest mobile homes permitted on our highways. 25 of those huge house trailers measuring 10 feet in width and 60 feet in length. The Apollo Saturn is being developed initially for the manned lunar program. It represents the culmination of the growth in technology that will enable men to leave the planet Earth, travel through space some 238,000 miles, land on another heavenly body, and then return safely home. The techniques developed to accomplish this feat may be used for traveling through space over long periods of time to explore other planets. Now, this amazing progress in space finds the American people less than well prepared to comprehend its social impact. Scientists maintain a dialogue with scientists, quite properly to be sure. But there remains a much-needed job of indoctrinating our public with the consequences of cosmic communication and the inevitable changes in our life, in our culture, our philosophies, our economy, our markets. Radical revisions in our total society. Now, one means of preparing ourselves for the future is to educate by entertaining. The following film describes an unusual motion picture now being produced in London for release all over the world starting early in 1967.
To accomplish the effect of weightlessness, cameras are placed in radically unorthodox mounts. Optical engineers had to design equipment which would meet the requirements of Kubrick's bizarre and incisive imagination. "3,000 miles to the west of the Grumman Aircraft Engineering Corporation on Long Island, New York, work continues around the clock. Here, the Lunar Excursion Module, known as LEM, is under construction. It will take 2 American astronauts onto the surface of the moon. Arthur Clarke, co-author of 2001: A Space Odyssey, was invited to observe the LEM's progress and comment on the events leading to placing a man on the moon.
We're in the final assembly building of the LEM, the Lunar Excursion Module, which will take 2 American astronauts down to the surface of the moon. And in 2001, Stanley Kubrick and I have set ourselves several objectives. We hope to convey to the public the wonder and beauty and promise of the new age of exploration which is opening up before the human race. We want to convey the message that our Earth is perhaps not the only abode of life. Our sun, the sun that shines on this planet, is one of 100 billion circling in the Milky Way. How many of those shine upon our equals or our masters out there in the the depths of space? That's the question that 2001 asks and seeks to answer.
A full-size model of the Lunar Excursion Module is the setting for a visit and conversation between Arthur Clarke and Tom Buck of Look magazine.
Well, here we are on the LEM ship, and one can almost imagine we're on our way to the moon, or we've arrived at the moon, as a matter of fact.
Yes, it's hard to realize that in a few years an American astronaut will be looking through this window out onto the lunar surface. And what we are doing in the movie 2001, A Space Odyssey, is showing some of the things that will develop in the world of the future as a result of our present first steps into space.
Arthur, in one of your earlier books, you indicated that people are space conscious, but not space minded. What is the distinction?
So, you know, the exploration of the universe is much more than a contest between two mid-20th century powers. It's really the next stage in the evolution of mankind. I'm sure that the men who built the first boats out of reeds and logs never imagined the ocean-going commerce of today, or the great nations beyond the sea. And similarly, the men who started the conquest of the air only a lifetime ago couldn't have conceived of the great jets that are now roaring through the skies. Well, what we're starting now with our drive into space is the next step in evolution. Out on the moon and planets are the new frontiers which our age needs so desperately. The next generation will explore the planets, bringing back new knowledge, answering old questions, and of course asking fresh ones. And after the explorers will come, as they always do, the colonists, reshaping our neighboring worlds with the tools of future science. About half a century ago, the great Russian space pioneer Tsiolkovsky said, "Earth is the cradle of mankind, but you cannot live in the cradle forever." And that is very true, and out here among the stars lies the destiny of mankind. You know, the exploration of the universe is much more than a contest between two mid-20th century powers. It's really the next stage in the evolution of mankind. I'm sure that the men who built the first boats out of reeds and logs never imagined the ocean-going commerce of today, or the great nations beyond the sea. And similarly, the men who started the conquest of the air only a lifetime ago couldn't have conceived of the great jets that are now roaring through the skies. Well, what we're starting now with our drive into space is the next step in evolution.
Somebody left a comment recently saying something to the effect of, "You sound like you're on the verge of a mental breakdown," or sounding burned out or something to that effect. So I don't know if a 9-minute intro is a sign of being on the verge of a mental breakdown. Maybe. But honestly, I feel like I've been on the verge of a mental breakdown for going on almost 20 years now, so it's kind of par for the course by now. But honestly, I would have wanted to play a lot more clips from this film that I just came across called A Look Behind the Future. That was made in 1966, about 2001: A Space Odyssey, and talking about it in the context of the upcoming Apollo mission. This editor for Look magazine coming right out of the gate saying, we need to indoctrinate the public about all the societal changes that the space age is going to bring about. And then you have Arthur C. Clarke actually sitting in the LEM telling you point blank that it's about so much more than a clash between two superpowers. This is about the evolution of man. And he's publicly saying this, before Apollo or 2001 came out, so it really wasn't veiled ever. But there you go, it's like, what do you think one small step for man, a giant leap for mankind means? They're talking about the evolution of man. But yeah, it's amazing. It's definitely worth watching if you haven't seen it yet, because they go into all the different corporations who were involved in the movie project, from IBM and GE, and all this collaboration with NASA, and then all the media attention and unprecedented coverage that it was getting at the time. It's pretty in your face that it's like, yes, they're acknowledging that this is propaganda. It's all intertwined. To go from being space conscious to space minded. The interesting thing is when you think back to the 2001 movie and the mythology of that, and then the progression of the quote-unquote real space travel. The side of the predictions having to do with technology, communications, AI, making internet calls, things like that, video conferencing. All that side of it has actually panned out beyond what their predictions even really could conceive of at the time. And yet the side of actually walking around on other heavenly bodies are putting people into orbit or into the solar system. Obviously. Even according to the believers, it's like they have to try and wrap their heads around why we went to the moon and then never went back for 50 years, and lost all the data, lost all the ability to even do that somehow. Okay, but I'm not getting off on that. But yeah, this whole film right here just kind of summarizes quite a bit of so much of the stuff I've been looking into. The use of media and entertainment as propaganda. The spreading of essentially transhumanist and illuminist ideology. A Gnostic evolutionary belief system posing as science and science fiction, but these things working in tandem to propel people to what really is a drastic change in society and thinking and ways of living and accepting norms of dependence on technology and artificial intelligence. I mean, these things are not science fiction now. And that that kind of takes us to the whole issue of algorithms and social media and YouTube, and I have gone ahead and started up a BitChute channel. I haven't uploaded anything to it yet, but we'll see where that goes. But I'm going to start doing that. Probably not every one I've ever made, but I'll try and get as many up there as seem still relevant. But overall, whatever happens, I'm thankful for the opportunity that I've had to interact with so many of you and share these ideas and absorb new ideas and be challenged and really try and come to terms with the idea that there's no curvature to the Earth, or that no one's ever been to space. And all the ramifications of science and physics. And it's been quite a journey. So I have peace about everything, no matter what happens. Whether December 10th comes and goes and nothing massive, or, if it's just gone. I've kind of been half ready for that possibility for, several years now, so. But I'm going to keep on, going and probably just doing my thing here, as long as it's possible to do so we'll just have to see what happens. And there's so many things that I could ramble on about, as I have many times in the past, about archetypes and occult symbolism and all the deception, which gets so much of the focus, and all this research, but really I just felt drawn to read from scripture, so I figured what better place to go than Isaiah chapter 40. Who has measured the waters in the hollow of his hand, measured heaven with a span, and calculated the dust of the earth in a measure, weighed the mountains in scales, and the hills in a balance? Who has directed the Spirit of the Lord, or as his counselor has taught him? With whom did he take counsel, and who instructed him, and taught him in the path of justice? Who taught him knowledge, and showed him the way of understanding? Behold, the nations are as a drop in a bucket, and are counted as the small dust on the scales. Look, he lifts up the isles as a very little thing, and Lebanon is not sufficient to burn, nor its be sufficient for a burnt offering. All nations before him are as nothing, and they are counted by him less than nothing and worthless. To whom then will you liken God, or what likeness will you compare to him? The workman molds an image, the goldsmith overspreads it with gold, and the silversmith casts silver chains. Whoever is too impoverished for such a contribution chooses a tree that will not rot. He seeks for himself a skillful workman to prepare a carved image that will not totter. Have you not known? Have you not heard? Has it not been told you from the beginning? Have you not understood from the foundations of the earth? It is he who sits above the circle of the earth, and its inhabitants are like grasshoppers, who stretches out the heavens like a curtain, and spreads them out like a tent to dwell in. He brings the princes to nothing. He makes the judges of the earth useless. Scarcely shall they be planted, scarcely shall they be sown, scarcely shall their stock take root in the earth, when he will also blow on them, and they will wither, and the whirlwind will take them away like stubble. To whom then will you liken me, or to whom shall I be equal, says the Holy One? Lift up your eyes on high and see who has created these things, who brings out their host by number, who calls them all by name. By the greatness of his might and the strength of his power, not one is missing. Why do you say, O Jacob, and speak, O Israel, my way is hidden from the Lord, and my just claim is passed over by my God? Have you not known? Have you not heard? The everlasting God, the Lord, the creator of the ends of the earth, neither faints nor is weary. His understanding is unsearchable. He gives power to the weak, and to those who have no might he increases strength. Even the youths shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint.